All right, perfect. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again. I'm just gonna quickly switch back to the screen that I need to be on. Just a quick moment. All right, perfect. All right, thanks so much for joining everyone. That song sounded better when I heard it first time. I don't know about it now. I hope you enjoyed it though. Thanks so much for joining us once again. And keeping on the theme, we do a webinar every month, and we try and cover topics that are meaningful and can add instant value. We want to be able to give ideas that you can go back and implement almost instantaneously. And so what we've done today is kept it very simple. Normally, what happens is I almost always go overboard with ideas, and we spend 55 minutes, sometimes 70 minutes talking about those ideas, and there's no time left for questions. So I'm going to leave some time for questions at the end this time. If you have any questions while I'm speaking, please put them in the chat or in the Q&A section, and I'll try and take them up while I'm talking. In the meantime, coming back to what we wanted to talk about today, instead of talking about the most obvious, most basic conversion optimization ideas, this time we wanted to focus on stuff that is normally unnoticeable and is often overlooked. I was recently talking to the head of experimentation at a Fortune 500 company, and it was a very interesting discussion because the way that they would look at experimentation is very different. As a matter of fact, I realized that they have an 1,100-person team that is essentially all of their tech, that manages all of their digital assets. And in that team, there are 100 people that are focused purely on front end related stuff, including experimentation, revamping stuff, creating new wireframes, creating new parts of their own CMS. Like they have their own CMS, which is distributed across category teams, which update things in the site. And what I realized is that they were at a point where they had essentially over intellectualized absolutely everything, and everything needed approvals. Everything was very risky because the stakes were so high. And so I realized, that's not only true for enterprise, that's true for most companies, that, we are over intellectualizing parts of the CRO experience, the e-commerce experience, and we are overlooking some of the most basic things. And that's why we wanted to talk about stuff that's really simple. It's largely, it is overlooked often. And, I just feel it adds a lot of value if you are able to get some quick wins. So that's what we will focus on. So jumping in without further delay, I have 20 ideas to walk you through today. I don't want to spend ideally more than a couple of minutes talking about each one of them. So let me jump right in, and I'll try and gift back some of your time to you today, because the ideas that we're going to talk about today are really simple. Okay, first one is really simple. I think the idea here is not to create cognitive load. What you're trying to do here is, when you're running sales or discounts, you're trying to do that across different categories. Like in this case, what's really happening here is you're showing too many discounted categories together. If you are doing this, why it doesn't work obviously is because you are putting the customer in a choice paralysis. You're asking them to choose between too many things. Whereas generally, if you think about it, people don't decide on the basis of discount. They decide on the basis of what they want. Do they want rugs? Do they want shades? Do they want furniture sets? And then within that, discounts will start to matter depending on what value they're getting. So I think discounting at a meta level is a great way to get eyeballs and to get conversions. But in between, categorizing through discounts is not a great idea. And so how I want you to rather think about it is, focus on the most prominent, most lucrative sale that you're running, most lucrative discount that you're running, and emphasize on communicating that so that you can bring more attention to that hero product that you're running on sale. That will allow you to send your lower intent traffic to that product in the hopes of converting even the lower intent traffic. For your higher intent traffic, which knows what it wants, focusing on, having a great search, having personalization, having very easy navigation will actually affect your conversion rate much more than spending hours and hours designing banners and putting them on the site during sales season, because that's not what sales are about. Really, what you're trying to do when you're running sales is to convert the customers that are already in your funnel. They're probably already in your email list. And so you have to be a little bit more tactical with discounts instead of just, saying, hey, everything is on sale, let's go crazy. That's a great way to bring people to the website. But if you're doing that all over the experience as well, you're creating choice paralysis. You're going to distract people from what they actually want, and it's not going to really work. So as a matter of fact, today I want to emphasize on something else, which is suppression testing, or testing removing things. So we're going to talk about that as I keep going. But yeah, and if you have any issues with my audio or speed, please feel free to put it in the chat, or you can DM me in the chat and I'll correct myself. Just want to make sure, because We had people joining from all over Europe the last time, and I had a couple of feedback emails saying, "Hey, it would be great if you could slow down because the accent is I try and keep it as neutral as possible. But yeah, if you have any issues, just let me know." Fake recommendations. This is, I think, so common. I found it on Tumi as well, and I was actually shopping for messenger bags, and it's showing me absolutely random stuff, including a Tumi carbiner, which is, I don't know what to do with an orange colored carbiner. I think that's because they have a partnership with McLaren. It's impossible to show recommendations as long as, without collecting the right data. So if you're not doing that, faking recommendations is not going to get you anywhere. And quality recommendations actually really help. Now, picture this: you're a furniture store that's selling sofas, and I'm surfing for sofas, and I'm looking at fabric sofa, which is in the $1,000 to $3,000 range. It's a two-seater, and so what recommendations would matter to me? What would matter to me is a fabric sofa, two-seater in that price range, preferably also in the same style. So if I'm looking at Scandinavian, I would want to look at that. Whereas if I'm looking at antique, I would want to continue to look at antique style designs. So just think about that. I think recommendations, if you're doing them with like the default Shopify recommendation engine, chances are they're not that relevant, and they're taking very high quality real estate on your site and creating a hindrance as opposed to adding value. What you would much rather want to do is just use simple labels if you want to still suggest products like top 5 customer favorites or currently top selling, right? So that way you're not faking it. And because when you say recommendations for you, it gets attention, and then not relevant, it leaves a sour taste in the customer's mouth. Fake numbers. As a matter of fact, there is a travel company in Europe, which I'm not going to tell you what their name is, but they were recently fined, I think, a couple of $100 million because they were faking the tickets or how much of something is left in stock. I don't think that's going to happen with you because they're a large, massive global business. But I just think that faking numbers doesn't make sense. It actually loses trust more than it gains trust. It especially loses trust for your best customer. Why I say that is you have to look at your own analytics, and you will realize that repeat traffic converts 2 to 3 times better than first-time traffic for you. And because of that, it's interesting that somebody who visited your site and saw a time-bound sale running, or saw that only 2 of something was left in stock, and then they came back 3 weeks later because you sent them an email and it's still 2 left in stock, and it's still 2 left in stock 1 month later, you've essentially left, they know that it's fake. And so it really is important that you think these things through. I also think it's very easy to add those $10 apps from the Shopify marketplace that will do things like these for you. I don't think they add value. We've A/B tested some of them as well. What you could instead do is just talk about what's new this week. What generally is going on with the numbers that you're trying to claim. Having, like in this case, I think the example that we were trying to look at is some 400 new arrivals, which is obviously it's not true. Moving further, cart recommendations. So I often see upselling and cross-selling happening, but with no clear way for people to quickly act on it. Like in this case, I've added a set of earrings in my cart, and I have 3 more suggestions, which all look great and they all look similar. So in terms of quality of suggestions, they're great, but there's no way for me to quickly add them to the cart. And that's horrible because you're taking the customer away from the cart. So that's not good at all. The easy way out, obviously, is that you allow the customer to instantly add it to the cart. There are ways in which you can do it like this, where you can let the customer pick a variant and add to cart in the cart itself. So your mini cart can have that. The other important thing that I want you to remember is see the difference in recommendations here, right? I have bought a $95 product and I'm being recommended a $75 product. So the decision that I'm being asked to make is a significant one. Whereas in this case, I've bought a $100 product roughly, and I'm being sold a sock. Very easy decision to make, right? It is an even easier decision if, let's say, adding this $14 product will make shipping free for me. So I'm just saying that you have to do things one step at a time and think things through instead of just adding stuff to the site, which doesn't really make any sense, right? Overlapping offer, right? So usually if you're doing a free gift, if you convert that into something else, like if you're just renaming your offers over a period of time in the hopes of converting customers, as I already said, your repeat traffic and your most loyal customers already know that. So you can't fool them. Customers are very smart. You have to be cautious. And what I really recommend is thinking things through. Instead of doing overlapping offers, I recommend, and I recommend this in, later on also in one of the other ideas, why don't, it's such an easy thing to do, why not just tier the discounts? Why not just tier the entire process? What that helps you do is make the whole thing a lot easier, and you are making decision making very simple for the customers. um, I'll talk about tiering again, but we want to talk about something a little bit more important, which is discounts that are really not discounts. You know, a $2 off on a $32 product really doesn't matter. I understand that's about 7 or 8% off, but generally speaking, 15% is the psychological threshold beyond which discounts truly start to matter. Anything below 15% will not matter. So if you ever do a discount which is below 15%, you have to make sure that your dollar savings are significant. For example, if you're doing a 5% discount on a $1,000 product, that's a $50 saving, which is significant and it would work. But if it's less than that, I think it does not have a psychological impact. So what you're doing is you're crowding your product information, you're crowding the space, you're crowding the site, and creating unnecessary information which is not required and actually will have no impact on your conversion rate whatsoever. So try removing it and simplifying the experience. I can guarantee you that it will A, improve trust because you're not looking like a discount store like an Alibaba, and B, it will allow you to sell product at MRP even if it was 30 bucks, which is originally what you were going to sell at. But then your discounts will matter even more, because in this case, if you're always on discount and you actually run a sale for Thanksgiving or whatever, that sale doesn't matter anymore. So you have to really think through these things. What I recommend you do is think of value deals, bundle products together, make people buy more, tier your discounts, buy 5 and get this. So that kind of stuff is a little bit more legitimate. It rewards you in terms of higher increased order value, and it rewards the customer as well. Misleading pop-ups. Now this is very famous. You want $100 off. Yes, I want it. I give my email and I get an email saying you'll have to buy for $1,000 to get the $100 off. It's ridiculous. You're lying, and it doesn't work that way. So I think hiding these preconditions will never work. You're going to erode trust as a brand, and so you have to be very careful. I in fact categorically like the brands that are able to make promises that say no conditions apply. That's what people want. I mean, what could you want as a customer, right? What I think you could do again is a tiered discount. So instead of saying, hey, $100 off if you buy 1,000, think of the value that you're willing to give away. So, if you're okay to give away like a 20%, it would then tier that down. So if you're giving 100 on 10, then also give a 10 on 100, also give a 20 on 200, also give a 30 on 300, and so on. So that would, you could still run this messaging and you could still get away with giving a 10% because you're giving something, you're not giving nothing. So I feel that's a big one. And I've seen this happening on a lot of sites, especially sites that sell high value products. We work with a lot of luxury watch sites, which are either selling established luxury brands or people trying to create their own brands from scratch. Mandatory email sign up for quiz results. This is again a really annoying one, primarily because I just filled up a lot of information to find out what works for me. And now I'm being asked to enter so much information. So I think that's not that great. The way out, the solution for that is to also add a reward. So in this case, last step, we need your email in order to save Amber's recommendations. Plus, we'll generate a $5 off code, right? Or you and also give them the option to skip that. Let them see the recommendations. What is the point of giving a quiz? The whole reason of giving a quiz is that you want to be a consultant, a digital consultant, right? I have, for example, if you're a skincare product, I have acne during this time of the year. This is my age. This is my weight. This is the kind of supplements I'm taking. And then you're trying to nail what kind of product would work for them. So if you're going to use that as a way to collect emails, that's really not the point. That's not the reason you did it. Pre-selected add-ons or deceptive add-ons in the pricing in any way. In this case, there's a $4 sleeve for the sunglass that is added. Strict no, do not add any add-ons. As a matter of fact, you could just be smart about it and sell those add-ons in the right way. In this case, protect your sunglasses, right? So this is a very simple one. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Now, here is an interesting take. So at ConvertCart, we've been doing email marketing for more than 100 brands now. We send millions of emails every week, and we are able to do experiments at scale because most of our customers have high list sizes. By the way, if you're looking for an audit for your site experience or your email setup, even if it is on Klaviyo, we are happy to come in and do that for you. But the reason I brought that up is through the experimentation that we've been doing, we realized that cart abandonment emails have become this way to remind the customer about things, and free shipping has become a way to push the customer to buy more. And while that's okay, and you want to do it in a tactical way, we've seen that putting your free shipping threshold when the abandoned cart value was significantly lower, it actually deters the customer from going to the next step. So here, what's happening is I had a $25 products in the cart. I abandoned the cart, but then I also see that the free shipping is on orders above 49. What that's going to do for me is not going to make me buy double the quantity. No, it's going to stop me from clicking, thinking, hey, okay, this means that this 25 bucks, it's going to be this plus shipping. And when you're selling between $20 to $80 value, trust me, people really care about the $3 or $6 or $7 you're going to charge them for shipping, right? So they're like, hey, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to go to the mall this weekend anyways, and I'm going to go out this weekend anyways. I'm going to pick up something at that time. Especially if you're selling something that people really don't need, right? The world is okay without whatever you're selling. They're not going to go through the effort of paying you double the money to get $7 off, right? So just think through how each and every part of your messaging works. And this is something we realized because we do millions of emails and we have been able to experiment a lot with copy. So copy is king. You have to have absolutely incredible copy no matter what you write, where you write it. And so that's why this idea really matters in that way. Protection guarantees. This is something new. Actually, 2 or 3 months ago in a webinar, I recommended doing this. I essentially recommended helping people jump the queue. So what happened is I recently went to Europe, and almost all of the largest tourist attractions have 2 tickets. If you're going into the Colosseum or if you go to the Vatican, you can just buy the normal ticket, line up and enter, or you can just pay like a 10% premium to that and skip the line tickets. And what that allows you to do is basically there's a different queue. You walk into the place without any queue. But the thing is that almost everywhere we paid that 10% premium, but in more than half the places that wasn't even needed because the line wasn't long enough. So that's really, I just paid it just like that. So I recommended 2 or 3 months ago to brands that they could add a $1 top of queue fee, which is, hey, your order will be processed first. Your order will be processed before all other orders that we're getting, as long as you pay this $2 extra. So it's extra $2 per order. We've seen very high conversions with that. About half the orders will convert with that. So if you're doing $1,000 a month, you're talking about $1,000 in revenue, and the cost of that revenue is nothing, right? It goes to the bottom line straight away because the only thing you got to do is reorganize the way you pack and send orders. But I think people took it the wrong way. So what I started to see is people started selling guarantees. They were automatically getting added to the cart, and that's horrible. So in this case, what's really happening is I'm getting a cuts boost plus a free returns and package protection getting added to the cart without my consent. And so what happens is in the cart I'm 118 bucks, but in the checkout I'm 136, and that's really off-putting. The checkout does not allow me to remove it, so now I hate you and I'm gonna just leave. So let's not do that. Be very careful about how we do this. Also, when you do it, if you do it, make sure you sell it well, right? 95% of the shoppers chose protection guarantee to make sure that the product reaches them in top condition, right? And that adds a lot of value. The other thing you want to make sure you do is when you add a guarantee like this, make sure that the people who are not getting it are not concerned or worried about whatever they are doing. Because if you're doing a guarantee on one side, the other side should not feel like, oh, you know what, it's probably very unreliable to ship with these people. And so that will not work as well. Showing a super inflated retail price. Yeah, I think this happens a lot on e-commerce stores that generally sit between 1 million to 20 million or 15 million revenue. If you're selling branded products, we try and show the MRP. and then we discount it and sell it. And then there's a member pricing on top of that. I recommend that we think through this. And the reason I simply say that is price. Let me just articulate myself in a little bit more fundamental way. The 3 or 4 most important things on your product page as a business. The first most important thing is images. The second most important thing is price. The third most important thing is the title of the product. And the fourth most important thing is the value prop as a whole that comes out, right? So the first most important thing is the image, and the second is the price. If you're selling a standardized product and you're pricing it above whatever the market is at, or people generally that buying that product know that it's supposed to be at, then it instantly erases trust. You are then perceived as a place that is selling expensive, and you are never going to get a conversion from that customer that thinks like that. Interestingly, your most discerning buyers know what price of things are. They know what things cost and what they're valued at, right? And so you are losing your most discerning buyers by doing this. So you have to be extremely careful. What you could do is highlight member pricing, but also instead of focusing purely on the pricing, focus on the rewards, right? Start a positive loop instead of increasing the price and discounting it. If you want to have a membership level pricing, you could do extra perks like exclusive drops, invites to community sessions, expert tasting events, whatever it is that is relevant to your brand. And that's when you create a real valuable membership. I also recommend you add all of those members into a Facebook group or create a Slack community and then take it to the next level. But I think playing with the price it can be dangerous. Permanently discounted, ending soon section in your store. So I think, again, it goes without saying, and I've been repeating this. Generally speaking, moving your slow inventory by overly discounting hurts conversions for all your other products. So I think you will have to work with somebody really smart to help you experiment this. We are happy to do that for you. But generally speaking, if you have an ending soon clearance sales section that has products that don't generally sell well or don't convert right now or are not fast moving, and you're doing like a 30% off, invariably you will redirect a lot of your quality traffic that was going to go and buy your bestsellers and stuff that actually sells to the clearance section. And then they're going to judge you and your entire store for what is selling in the clearance section. It will also make the rest of your store look significantly more expensive. And so I think it's a crime. And then if a crime on top of that is that if that section doesn't generally refresh, etc. So what you want to do is time the sale, make it a really specific event, have only very limited options in it, have just 2 options or 3 options, don't have like 20. And so you could just call it a May sale and put like 3 options in it, have different options every month. And so that becomes like a parked area for drops that you're doing in pricing for different types of products. And that's the safe way of doing it, right? So that's an interesting one to think about. Manipulative language in secondary CTA. So this is, I think, one of the oldest CRO tricks in the book, right? Either take the opt-in or no thanks, I'll pay full price, right? Now, the thing is, we've come to realize that people have become more and more sensitive about the emotions they're feeling while they're shopping, especially with brands in a one-to-one, because a lot of the discovery of your brand is probably happening on something like Instagram or a TikTok. And if you're doing that, they come with an expectation. That was not true some time ago because a lot of the discovery was happening purely on meta ads, right? And the problem with coming with a lot of expectation is that it's very easy to get hurt as a customer. And so you don't want to annoy people in any way possible. And so please don't try and invade their inbox by doing something like this. I always emphasize on keeping things simple. Also create a positive reinforcement, right? How are you positively reinforcing them giving your email ID? For example, we'll never spam you, although that's a hard promise to make, but you can at least promise what you're going to do instead, right? Get weekly drops and quarterly offers. or irresistible deals. That's it, right? So you're promising how much you will spam them instead of just getting their email, leaving them in the dark, getting them a discount, and that's it, right? Comparison charts that don't add any value, very, very common and really not the thing you want to do. It's like the sleaziest. It's like the car salesman technique, right? We are the best cars. We're the best car dealer in the city. This is the best car you are gonna buy. This is the best price you will get it at. Your life will change if you buy this car, and then everybody knows what happens after that. So it's not true. There are 50 other car dealers. This is one of the many cars you can buy, and this is one of the many prices you can probably get for it. And so what you want to do instead is buy things for what they're really worth. And so having meaningful comparisons that actually make sense and have a clear differentiator will make sense. So for example, if you're selling a supplement and taste is your USP, focus on that. And if you're selling a fashion product and fit is your USP, focus on the fit. So focus on the things that you can do well instead of just trying to say, hey, everything else is trash and I'm the best. So that erodes trust again. These are, as I said, these are often ignored things, very simple things that really matter. Before I start talking about the next one, I had spoken about suppression testing. What I really meant is I often see people experimenting or testing, adding things to the site or adding things to the product collections or homepage. But very rarely do we see people removing things. And you have to trust me that some of the most powerful experimentation ideas originate from removing things. Because trust me, adding $10, $15 apps has made it very easy to add simple hacks into the product page or your collections page, etc. But if you simplify, right, it just changes the game to another level. There's this very famous quote is that the number one indicator of a very high intellect is how simple someone can make something. And so you have to look at the last atom of the reason someone visits your site. What is it that they're trying to buy? Why is it that they would buy it? And what is it that matters to them? Is it price that matters to them? Is it quality that matters to them? Right? Is it speed that matters to them? And then just focus on that single problem alone. Unspecified limited offers. I've added this idea just so that we can remove the taboo away from timers. Timers work beautifully if you do them well, right? So in this case, for example, they're selling a cream and there's a decent offer here, about 20% off, and it says limited time, but then that's it. So it essentially creates zero sense of urgency, zero. The other thing that you see is happening here is there are two deterrents. The subscription option saves you 5% on all shipments, but the price is the same. If you see the price at the end of that, it's the same. Plus, there's no shipping to Canada. So there's so much to think about. What you want to do is keep things simple. If it is a new customer, don't even tell them what the subscription saving is. Get them first conversion. If you want to switch to subscription, it has to be exciting enough for them. And also replace that limited time with a timer because it would go a long way. Just a very simple timer. That's it. Last 4 ideas, and then we can open it up for questions. If you have any questions, you can put in the chat. That way I'd be able to give back some of your time and we don't have to wait. Unclickable review snippets. So there was this company called FOMO. They used to do FOMO pop-ups. I think they're still around. They still do that. And they are generally those pop-ups that come on the corner of the screen. And they still do that. You wouldn't believe it. There are two pieces of information I'll give you. We have A/B tested running these kind of pop-ups many times. And more than 60% of the times, they actually reduce conversions because they erode trust. And everybody knows that those pop-ups are probably not real. Even if they're not real is what people generally think. So that's what the internet generally thinks. And about that company, they got acquired some 3 or 4 years ago. They sold for not that much money, but of the total value that company got, 70% of that company's value at the time of acquisition was because of their domain, which is FOMO.com. So FOMO is a slang, everybody knows that, but you can just imagine that the business itself was not worth too much money. So that's what I think about those pop-ups. That's some interesting trivia for you. What you instead want to do is, have some kind of CTAs on it. Try and make them more relevant. I would much rather not do them, but if you still want to do them, make them clickable, make them actionable. I should be able to jump to the product, add some offer. I think there's a way to do it to make it work. But you know, Jason bought this product from Albuquerque. I think it's a long shot. Notification bar. Okay, this is, I've seen this too many times. ConvertCart.com was also, guilty of doing this at some point. But generally speaking, free shipping, 20% off on menswear, 40% off on everything, 20% off on fashion. I think it's again, the choice paralysis is insane here. So what you want to just do is make it dynamic. What we normally do is segment and run the notification bar, because these bars work great. They get a lot of attention. You do it in a bright color. Everybody gets to see them. Works very well. Okay. So here's what you want to do is you want to segment your traffic. For your first time visitors, you want to switch this out with free shipping on your first order just for you, right? Because it's a first time visitor. For a repeat visitor, free shipping if you add 2 products, right? So you want to just think through what perks or what carrots will work for what type of visitor, but you've got to just be able to do that. Right. So there are 2 ideas here. The first is, I don't see a lot of brands actually even doing this. And I don't know why, but did you know that there's a small percentage of customers that will generally empty their cart before they abandon it? That data point is very often overlooked. And imagine, there's somebody who's going through the effort of removing something from the cart, and there's really no deterrent to it. So when somebody says delete, it just gets removed from the cart, and that's it. And there's no deterrent. And so I think the first thing is do something about it. You have to try and make that part of the experience meaningful. And so what I would want us to do is make the post-cart removal process a little bit interactive, so that you can engage more shoppers and you can give them something to do. And so I think that's an easily overlooked item. Both people not doing it, and second, the ones who are doing it are probably going overboard. So this is one overboard example. Wait, are you sure you want to empty your cart? You're leaving behind items that are top rated, low in stock, trending now. Your selected items include a free gift. If your empty cart, we can't guarantee these products will still be available. It's like standing at the exit gate of a Walmart and saying, "Don't go." And that doesn't work. That nobody's going to be back. You're going to look like a creep. So you don't want to do that at all. Let's go to the last idea, and then we'll open it up. If you have any questions, please put in the chat, because I can see 2 DMs to me, and I'll anyways take them. But when you're putting into the chat, it's better if you just select everyone. I'll just make sure that option is open for everyone here. I think it should be, because Aguel did message earlier. All right, expecting people to explore an entire category. Now, there are so many problems with this screenshot. There are so many gaps here that it just pains me. As a conversion optimization, you could say geek. I won't say expert, because I'm always learning. First of all, the general differentiation between the products is just terrible. The difference is, the first one is apple and sweet potato, blueberry and carrot, and then so on. But that's so hard to make out, because they all look the same. And a large part of the attention goes to the brand. So I think they have a branding issue. But more than that, on the website, they could have just avoided that whole issue by showing the actual product instead of just the outer packaging of it. It doesn't matter what the outer packaging looks like. You want to see the actual product and do that. Another learning from my recent trip that I was just talking about, pasta in supermarket aisles. I was just asking them, because I'm just very curious. I just asked them, which is the best pasta? I asked an Italian guy I think it was Pisa, in a supermarket, and I asked him, what is the absolutely best quality pasta, something that your nonna uses, and he pointed me to a package which is like, and then because I already knew that information, I had earlier asked someone, instead of that question, I had actually asked them, which is the best selling pasta here? And it was a different one. And the difference between the two was, the best one was a nice looking brand, etc. And it was a fully closed pack. right? So because that guy had tried it and he had made it, he knew it was the best one. But the other guy told me that it's the best, the one that's best selling. It's because it had transparent packaging. It had no logos. And so it was basically it had, of course, it had branding, but you could see the actual thing. And so it obviously sold more because you can see what you're buying. And so I think this is like something that I don't believe that consumer brands do this, but I don't know why. If your product actually looks good, you have to make sure that you can show the product in a way as real as possible. So that's one huge issue. But the fundamental CRO idea that we wanted to talk about here is that when you're expecting someone to explore an entire category, they have to go into every product and go into if you see what's happening here is I'm seeing a catalog of products and then I have an explore more button. So I'm going to go into that. I'm going to do, instead of 4, I'm going to see 16 products. So now you've just completely destroyed my journey. I should be actually if I were to run this site, I know they have a best-selling flavor, right? Which is, I don't know. I hope that it's I don't know. I don't like any of these, but okay. I hope that it's cherry and spinach. If that's the bestseller, then it needs to just sit right on top, and they have to have just one suggestion, just one recommendation, and lead with that, and convert your first-time visitor that is trying OT chomps for the first time. And if they've done that, then the next time you sell them a multi-pack, which is of all the flavors so that they can try more. And then the third time, you ask for a subscription. That's the way you build a chain that works. But for starters, if you are doing an experience like this, just have a simple quick add button or a quick view button or a button that can allow me to just get cursory information about the product instead of confusing me. So that's my final rant, final idea. I hope that added value. I just wanted to make sure that you have things that you can instantly implement. So out of the 20, even if there was one that you can potentially instantly implement, I think I've done my job, and I think it's a big win. So yeah, I think that's what we have here. The answer to both the questions I got in my DMs is a yes. I'm happy to ask someone to take a look at your site, and we'll be more than happy to return an audit, do a detailed audit of the experience. Any other questions, folks? Okay, I think I've answered all of the questions here, and I'm guessing I was super. I think I did a good job with the articulation. So nobody has any questions. Thank you so much, Angul. Perfect. All right. Thanks so much for your time, everyone. I will see you in the next one. The next one is going to be very interesting. And if you have anything that you feel I should talk about, I'm happy to do that. So we're looking for suggestions for the stuff that we could talk about in our webinars. There's no better way than to crowdsource it. So, yep. Thank you so much.